the sky begins to clear, the sun it melts away my fear. I'll cry a silent, weary tear for those that need to love me. And I am ready for the storm. Yes, sir, ready. I am ready for the storm. Yes, sir, ready. I am ready for the storm. Yes, sir, ready. I am ready for the storm. Ready for the storm.
I'm ready for the storm. I know all of you are ready too, but we won't talk about fires yet. Welcome everyone to the Teresa Show. It's Friday. It is Friday. Dang. It is Friday. You know, I've had this migraine for days. I can't even shake it off. Like no matter what I do, it's there. I think I need an adjustment. I have a chiropractor, but he uses machines. I think I need a man to put his hands on me and just snap me. But he has to be good with brown bodies. So I need to find one of those because this migraine's killing me. And I've been extremely busy too. It's just, I'm tired. I'm tired because I'm being pulled in many directions. And unfortunately, we're down a couple hands. Some of them have been stationed at bases where they can't have communication. So, I mean, there's so much to talk about. And I think what we need to do is garner a little bit perspective of what's going on. It's just, it's heartbreaking. And I want people to understand that when I said the military is the only way, I did not mean martial law, but for them to stand up for the Constitution. And we are seeing that. And there are many that are paying a price already. It's okay. It is okay. It is not a problem. Because we're seeing tons of videos of people being posted showing us. Hold on. I'll show you a couple videos. Let me just see if I can add more here. Where is it? I don't see it here. I could have sworn I had it down here. Maybe I put it here. There it is. Give me a second.
My name is Lieutenant Colonel Stu.
And we'll see him too. All right, so let's start this. The first video I want to show you is of our military or those posing as military, right? Because we always have to have that doubt. Doesn't mean it isn't. Telling us their struggle without many words. I know this personally because my daughter will have to go through this struggle too. Here we go.
And got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all.
As you can see, he says FDA supposedly approved the Pfizer vaccine. So now they're telling the military you either take it or you're getting a dishonorable discharge. And this man is saying almost 3 years in, everything I work for, no chance of reenlistment, my house, my career, everything. These are people that have made a career of supporting their nation and they lose everything. Right? My daughter took her oath in 2018. It's 2021. Right? She loves her job. Loves it. But she should not be forced to choose. For anyone saying that it's approved, jeez, you obviously don't understand how definitions change and how easily they can wordsmith. Here's a brave man. This guy, remember this, will be getting a medal.
United States Marine Corps, I'm the current battalion commander for Advanced Infantry Training Battalion. I've been in the Marine Infantry for 17 years. Started my tour with Victor 1-8. It's the current unit that's doing perimeter security, dealing with the mess that's going on there. You can see open source reporting that there was an explosion and some people were killed. I know through my inside channels that one of those people that were killed was someone that I have a personal relationship with, making it because I have a growing discontent and contempt for my perceived ineptitude at the foreign policy level, and I want to specifically ask some questions to some of my senior leaders. But I think what you believe in can only be defined by what you're willing to risk. So if I'm willing to risk my current battalion commander seat, my retirement, my family's stability to say some of the things that I want to say, I think it gives me some moral high ground to demand the same honesty, integrity, accountability from my senior leaders. We have a Secretary of Defense that testified to Congress in May that the Afghan National Security Force could withstand the Taliban advance. We have chairmen of Joint Chief, who the Commandant is a member of that, who's supposed to advise on military policy. We have a Marine combatant commander. All of these people are supposed to advise, and I'm not saying we've got to be in Afghanistan forever, but I am saying, did any of you throw your rank on the table and say, hey, it's a bad idea to evacuate Bagram Airfield, the strategic air base, before we evacuate everyone? Did anyone do that? And when you didn't think to do that, did anyone raise their hand and say, we completely messed this up? And from my position, potentially all those people did die in vain if we don't have senior leaders that own up and raise their hand and say, we did not do this well in the end. Without that, we just keep repeating the same mistakes. This amalgamation of the economic / corporate / political / higher military ranks are not holding up their end of the bargain. I want to say this very strongly. I have been fighting for 17 years. I am willing to throw it all away to say to my senior leaders, I demand accountability.
Now that person will get a medal. See, two people speaking up for things that concern us, that concern every American, every single one of us. He's doing exactly what he needs to be doing, and that is speaking truth. People hate the truth. They will crucify you if you bring out the truth. They cower in the sound of truth, in the face of truth, because they know they're wrong. In the meantime, while the military eliminated and fired that brave lieutenant colonel, very brave, to speak up, we have people like this speaking up that shouldn't be speaking and should
get deployed within the United States.
I want you guys to listen to the words. Listen to the words.
Understand that if active duty military actually get deployed within the United States, that weapon is not just pointed at other people, other countries. It's pointed at you. If you do not get in your house when I tell you to, you become the enemy. Martial law. Understand that if active duty military actually get deployed within the United States, that weapon is not just pointed at other people, other countries. It's pointed at you. If you do not get in your house when I tell you to, you become the enemy.
All right. Did you guys hear that? How many of you have seen that movie where confused people like this piece of shit sit there who are supposed to be serving us and defending the Constitution, telling us that you are the enemy when we are instructed to? Who's instructing you? Your job is to protect the people. You're not a Praetorian. You don't protect one person. You protect everyone. You protect the people. No real soldier would ever turn a gun on a civilian. It's disgusting. But we see it happen all the time. I've seen it happen. Many of you may not have experienced situations where I've seen it happen, and I spoke up. I've seen it happen. And it's not acceptable. You've seen it happen on TV too, when people protest. You haven't seen it? Are you sure? Because the ones that are coming for you are people like that call themselves Mr. Darling when they obviously have a vagina. Okay? Those are the type of people that we have in our military. You know, I, in uniform, had served a full 9 months in uniform, right? She's so low on the chain of command. I never saw people rank it by, yeah, you know, I used to eat with them and hang out with them. But I never worked with them. I'll tell you what, the proudest day of my life was when I did colors for my graduation. When I got my first orders, I was so excited because I was like, dang, I'm protecting everybody. I fight for every single square inch of this land that everyone gets to stand on because I've sacrificed my life for it. And even when I wasn't wearing the uniform, that's the same thing I felt through and through. To even think, well, I'm a soldier, I'm just taking orders. You're not a fucking idiot. That we obviously have higher standards than most. Well, I can argue with infantry a little bit, but okay, I'm not gonna throw shade. But bottom line is, right, they're supposed to be protecting us. They're not Praetorians. They're not protecting a king, right? They don't have loyalty to a king. They have loyalty and sworn oath to uphold the Constitution. Where in the Constitution does it say that the military will attack civilians? That's a problem. These are the types of people that should not be in uniform. If anything, they should be in an orange one because they even thought about it. Those are the type of people that committed crimes in wars. You know, pucking people and not stopping there, right? I don't care if someone's a terrorist, a jihadi, right? I've witnessed some really ugly things happen. Really ugly. And when we talk torture, oh, you have no idea. You think being put in a room or solitary is torture? You have no idea what I've witnessed and what they do. And all you have to do is sit there, and it's pretty easy when you're in a burqa to hide what you're feeling, right? It's really easy. But I'll tell you what, those types of people never belong in uniform ever. Ever. It's disgusting. When I say the military is the only way, I mean they need to stand up for us, not stand against us or dominate us. It was the most atrocious thing I've seen in a very long time. I mean, probably because I'm not in the field anymore. I'm pretty sure shit still happens in Afghanistan anyway. But that type of person does not belong in uniform. You know, because many people will be like, well, you know, those are orders and you are the enemy. Stop. Break it down. It's not. It never was. There's never a possibility where anyone in uniform ever can treat a civilian as an enemy and point a gun at them. It is disgusting. It is disgusting. And I hope she gets a freaking dishonorable discharge. I would have thrown her in the brig if she was in my command or anywhere near or even close to a commander that I knew. I'd be bitching from here forever. Like, I'd be spam texting. It's disgusting. By the way, he did get spam texted and did turn his phone off, just for the record. All right. So, having said that, our sailors, soldiers, dead. Because they're playing politics. The CIA got involved again. They fucked up. They always do. And it's always the innocent. And we should be proud, regardless if we should be there, we shouldn't be there, if our presence there is simply to occupy whatever it is. They're doing their duty to protect their nation. And I understand it. A lot of you will be like, well, don't they realize? Yeah, they probably do. This is why they have PTSD, right? They probably do. They get it. I've been there where things are happening. I'm like, I don't know how this is helping my country, but, that's it. We love our military because they do sacrifice birthdays, I didn't even get to go to my dad's funeral, okay? So stop. They sacrifice a lot, and they know that we're behind them, but they can't have that attitude because I don't give a shit. Some butch like that comes at me, she's eating my AR-15 for dinner. Disgusting. I was so appalled when I saw it. I was just like, I was spam texting. I could get numbers. Spam texting. And I'm sure many of you are upset too. Now, as I said yesterday, while they're busy mitigating the image that they cannot hide, which is war, and they have you distracted, right, with it, they're really moving hard on enslaving the U.S. population. There are kids showing off and becoming TikTok sensations by tattooing their QR code, saying, see how easy it is? I don't have to think about it or bring it in my wallet. They just scan my tattoo and I'm allowed to go in. And they're forcing these vaccines. So as you all know, I'm a person of faith. I do align more with the Coptics, but I love my monks. And being a female, I'm not allowed on Mount Athos. But I'm telling you now, I'm going to speak to you now of what Elder Julian said from Mount Athos. He said this, he revealed this on the 13th of August of 2021. To accept the little devil is disavow of Christ. These little devils defile the temple of the Holy Spirit, our bodies. Those who have accepted the little devil will not be able to discern the changes that will be occurring within their bodies. They will lose their inner freedom. The little devils will change human nature in order to prepare people to accept the demonic sealing. The lack of grace due to committing of sins and transgressions, together with the change in human nature occurring in the people who have accepted the little devil, will lead to the destruction of the image in which we were created. The time cometh that whoever killeth you will think that he doeth God a service. This will never be more obvious when the little devils begin to take effect. Satan wants to control the world by distorting the way people think and feel. As the father of lies and the source of all evil, he devised a diabolical system of ruling the world by preaching respect for the rights and freedoms of man, while in truth seeking only to subjugate him to such ideals. And God will allow this work of deception to be done so that the wheat may be separated from the chaff, and that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. That's a quote from Thessalonians. The lies and perverse way in which they act also manifests in the fact that by restricting all mental and spiritual freedom of man, they can deceive him into believing that this is the only way he can acquire true freedom. The fight will be in your own blood if you get the little devils. And the editor of this, who translated it, says, if anyone has already accepted, perhaps in ignorance, the little devils, let them not despair, but rather repent, confess, weep, and accept no more. No sin can overcome God's compassion, but let us not dare to put off such repentance, for without it, there is no forgiveness. Now, in the chat, I'll share the translated link. It has a lot of music. I actually phoned up and spoke with, the monk liaison and asked him if he had any advice for those of us that feel that we have no way out. Obviously, he said, "Terpsichori, isi se pedito theu," which means, "Terpsichori, you're a child of God. He will not let you go hungry." Well, the God part, I stopped it there in Greek. It's not like, He said to me, "Okay, so it's not for you. What do I tell them? I tell them to pray. I don't even trust our church anymore." I told them straight out. They're giving directives. He's like, "The church is merely but a place of congregation where we sit and we are educated on the teachings of Christ. When those in the church teach things that are not of Christ, well, you choose," is what he said. So he said, "You will not be alone, because he will not let the blood of his own martyrs run down the streets." And I believe him, because someone shared this video that was a compilation a while ago that President Trump had. They put it on TikTok, right? Hold on. Let me see if I can play it.
Yes, everything you can do all you want, but
I know you guys are going to want to watch it, so I can do that. I can put it on so you can watch it. But there's only one party, like I said yesterday, that speaks of God. We all know that party. Well, what was the party? It's not anymore, right? They don't exist anymore. It's not.
Yes, everything.
Oh my gosh, this video is driving me insane. Here we go. Let me play it.
Everything you can do all you want, but you still need help from the boss. We need help from the boss. That's what happened. We need help. Yeah, we need help. It's all right to say. Now, they'll criticize me for that. How dare he say that? How dare he say that? No, I'll say it. I'll say it. I'll say it. Somebody said to me the other day, "You're the most famous person in the world by far." I said, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." They said, "Yes, you are." I said, "No." They said, "Who's more famous?" I said, "Jesus Christ." I'm not taking any chances. I'm not going to have an argument. Hey, I'm not having any argument.
Awesome, right? That is exactly the difference between every single president I've seen in my lifetime alive. And I was pleased to read the editor's notes, because that is a conversation that I had with a monk. My sister, my mother, they've taken the vaccine. There are friends that I know that took the vaccine. I had a friend early out the gate, the minute it was available, went and got it. I haven't been speaking to her at all because I don't want to hurt her. It's evil, and they've committed sin. I wrote to the priest of my church and I said, "How dare you preach to the people to go and get it? You are doing the devil's work." Nothing. I mean, right now, the devil is lying and telling you it's approved when it's not. They're all pushing it. And you know what? Most of them are also pushing it. The Bible thumpers, the priests, because misery loves company, and they're willing for you to die as well as them because they did it. That's the most vicious part of it. Because I see them everywhere. I have them on my friends list on Facebook. Those that preach faith and secretly wishing that everyone just gets it so they can have company in hell. Because they did not have faith. They did not exercise their free will. It's sad. It's really sad. And for all those parents that sacrifice their children, it's terrible. It is terrible. My daughter was in a class today, and she's like, there's 18 of us in here. I'm the only one that's not vaccinated. I was like, whoa. 18 different families chose to sacrifice their children because their pediatrician promoted the vaccine because they get a nice fat ass 40 grand bonus from each insurance company for signing them up. Maybe they got a free visit, a lollipop, maybe a donut. That's how much their kid was worth. Some of them just did it because they're like, well, they need it for sports. My kid better play sports. I feel so bad for them. Because even if they did it in ignorance, they just gave away the most precious thing they created. Just handed it over and said, here, inject it with whatever the government sees fit. Take my child as part of this experiment because I just want to do the right thing. No wiser words have I heard than those from that monk. That Satan, as I said, will not come to you and say, I want to do evil. He will say, we should stand up for all rights, animal rights, save the pigs, but kill those people. Now, for those of you that are in the states like Oregon, I want to show you an argument. It's a very dangerous one. And it's been had because 3 states actually allow the right to die. You have a choice to die. I'd love to see a patriot attorney sue Kate and say you have made it legislation in your state for someone to choose death, but you cannot make it legislation in your state for them to protect their right to not take a medication. Pay attention. These are well put arguments. Now I want you to listen to this and see the evil and how it's seeped in.
Like millions of Americans, Oregonian Pam Wald was riveted by the video of Brittany Maynard, a 29-year-old woman suffering from brain cancer who moved here to end her own life.
I looked at that video. I studied, especially the last time I saw that video. I don't think I left her eyes.
Maynard lived in California, but relocated to take advantage of Oregon's Death with Dignity law that permits what's commonly known as physician-assisted suicide.
I will die upstairs in my bedroom that I share with my husband, with my mother and my husband by my side. And
she was featured in a media campaign by a group called Compassion and Choices. 20 years earlier, its predecessor group played a key role in advocating for Oregon's first-in-the-nation right to die bill. In 1994, Pam Wald considered herself a supporter of Oregon's Death with Dignity Act.
So you voted for it, but you never thought this has to do with me.
No. It was kind of like out of compassion. The idea that, someone gets in this situation, they deserve a right, to choose. It's important to choose how we live our lives and how we.
So what happened to all this? It's important that we choose how to live our lives and we choose if we want to die. How is Oregon now putting a foot down saying, no, you don't have that choice. You just better take the vaccine? Nah. Where's the right to choose? If you see their banners here was my life, my body, my choice. What's going on? Is this what we call double speak?
But then you found yourself in this situation.
Yes.
Where it's the story's about you.
Yeah. This is my husband.
In 2011, Pam's husband of 43 years, Ben Wald, discovered an earlier bout of cancer had returned. Soon after, the disease began taking a lethal toll. Pam and daughter Bonnie watched as the once robust Ben rapidly lost weight. As the cancer spread to his bones, the pain became intolerable.
Ben woke me up in the middle of the night, and he said, Pam, we got to talk. I don't want to keep, I'm dying, Pam. I've got a good life with you and Bonnie. I really don't want to just keep living like this. I want to explore organs death with dignity law.
This episode is brought to you by HP Plus. In a world full of smart devices, shouldn't your printer be smart too? It is with HP Plus. These printers know when they're running low, so you always get the ink you need delivered right when you need it. Plus, you save up to 50% on ink, so you can print whatever you want, as much as you want, anytime you want. Huh, that is pretty smart. Get 6 free months of instant ink when you choose HP Plus. Conditions apply. Visit hp.com/smart for details.
Under Oregon's law, a doctor must determine a terminally ill patient has 6 months or fewer to live. The physician can write a life-ending prescription only after a second doctor signs on, and both agree the patient is of sound mind. The patient must request the drug again 15 days after the initial request. But once the patient has it, the doctor's role is over. Since the law went into effect in 1997, nearly 1,200 people have received life-ending prescriptions, but just 752 have actually taken them and died. Others died sooner, and some changed their minds. As Ben's health deteriorated, he and Pam sought help from Compassion and Choices, the group supporting Brittany Maynard. In 2012, the group connected them with 2 doctors who signed off on Ben's wishes.
Monday, Ben got the order for the prescription, so it meant we could pick it up on Wednesday. And I thought at that point we would have it, and then we would just kind of see. I thought I had more time with him. But he said to me, Pam, I want to take it on Friday of that week.
Portland physician Bill Toffler has also followed the case of Brittany Maynard. Brittany's story strikes a chord with him, too. Toffler's wife of 40 years was diagnosed with cancer in 2009.
We were blessed with 5 years after the diagnosis was made, and she died just 4.5 months ago.
For Dr. Toffler and his wife, assisted suicide was never an option. He leads a group, Physicians for Compassionate Care Education Foundation, that opposes prescribing lethal drugs to terminal patients.
Every day we lived differently because we knew that we had a limited amount of time in a way that I never perceived before I had a wife with that clear diagnosis. And I'd hope that patients recognize that I value them as a doctor, regardless of how disabled they are, regardless of how sick they are, that their life still has meaning and value. And I want to reflect that, even when they don't see it themselves.
So where's this doctor now? Maybe we should reach out to him and say, where's your compassionate education and care for people that don't wish to have this vaccine? So someone's asking what Vesuvia is. If you go back a couple days ago, I talked about how the FDA decided to, approve a drug called Vesuvia for sale in the United States. It's one pill, 1,000 times more lethal than morphine, 10 times stronger than fentanyl, that is now on the market in the United States of America. Every single drug they bring, they said, oh, it won't get into the hands of people. It's going to be highly regulated. It's one pill in a plastic container because touching it is a problem. It is one of the most potent narcotics, opioids, that you will ever take. If you take 2, you'll never wake up. It hinders your midbrain and therefore depresses your ability, when it's on the toxic side, on the upper toxicity levels, the pharmacokinetic scale that they have actually hinders your midbrain. That part of your brain is at the base of your skull that regulates heartbeat and your lungs, things you don't think about. They approved that. Maybe they could just, slip it in your mouth when you're reluctant to be dragged out of your house for not getting vaccinated. It's a big problem. A very big problem.
But what about the fear and the pain that can surround dying? Why not help, I asked Dr. Toffler, if a patient asks?
It is a very scary time. And at that time, I want to come around the person. I want to walk alongside them. I want to be the best doctor I can be. I'm called to be more of a doctor than ever. I'm not supposed to be the person who helps her to kill herself. That's all too easy.
In a policy opinion, the American Medical Association says physician-assisted suicide is fundamentally incompatible with the physician's role as healer. And some religious groups, most notably the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, have strongly opposed the practice. According to the Gallup polling organization, a slim majority of Americans supports assisted suicide, but it's only legal in 3 states. Oregon, of course, along with Washington and Vermont. And court decisions have opened the door for assisted suicide in New Mexico and Montana. Bioethicist Arthur Kaplan, who was an opponent of the practice but now supports it, says the terms of the debate haven't really changed over the past 20 years, even with the publicity surrounding Brittany Maynard's case.
I think what's different in this debate is that Brittany Maynard is 29, attractive, articulate, almost passionate about her right to choose here. That's making the debate focus for a group that didn't pay attention, younger people.
Kaplan says fears of figures like Dr. Jack Kevorkian helped derail the right to die movement in the 1990s, and that improvements in end-of-life care have eased Americans' concerns over suffering at death.
I can't even tell you the amount of relief that it provides me.
But he says Brittany Maynard's case may provide new momentum for supporters of assisted suicide.
I think she's shifting the politics in a way that we may see some of the folks who got tied up in, say, trying to broaden marriage laws and trying to see homosexuality gain wider acceptance move to say, this is a choice I want. This is something I care about because it's her.
On May 4, 2012, Pam and Ben Wald gathered their closest friends in the living room. They sang songs together, and afterward, in the bedroom they shared, Pam handed Ben the medication that would end his life. He took it without hesitating.
Early on when I got together with my husband, we were first together, we'd be laying into bed together, and he was thinking he'd go like this with his hands. His hands are always moving. It's kind of like thinking kind of thing and everything. But what I've never forgotten is his hands were like this on his chest, and I held my hands on top of his. But his hands never went like that. They just stayed because he was just at peace. And his last words were, "Thank you." And he died. It died in 2 hours.
Ben Wald was 75 years old. So what can we learn from Oregon's experience? Katrina Hedberg of the State Health Authority, who's neutral on the issue, tracks statistics on Oregon's Death with Dignity law.
Initially, there were a number of concerns that people had around, would this be disproportionately used by people who were disenfranchised, so uneducated, or people who might have had disabilities, or those kinds of things. And we've really found that the people who are participating are people who really want to control the timing and manner surrounding their death.
Still, Dr. Top.
All right, so someone brings up a sound argument that I can actually relate to. Try being in pain and terminally ill I'm alone in a medical hospital. It's terrifying. Actually, I've been in that position. I've been in the position where they tagged my toe with a black tag and I was set for organ harvesting and they left me there. And I was mangled. I've been in that position. Far, far from home, where my parents and my family and my kids had no idea where I was. But taking my own life was the last thing on my mind. Say that you're alone and you have no one to look for you and you're terminally ill and in pain. And I'm in pain all the time. There is not a day that goes by that I'm not in pain because of my liver. There is not one day. Sometimes it's so bad that I'll have to pull over on the street just to stop when it gets really bad because I can feel it coming on. There's no excuse. There is no excuse for anyone to say to take their life. Who are you to take it? That's your cross. You'll be surprised. No matter how much pain you're in, you can choose to ignore it. And the inhumane part, imagine being tagged on your toe and parked somewhere else with no medical assistance, right? No IV drips, nothing. You're just parked, right? With the rest of the dead people, for shipping. That happened. And there's a lot of that happens. It's terrible. People suffer. But like the doctor said about his wife, she was terminally ill. She was probably in pain. But every day they lived it differently, knowing it could be their last. And if I'm alone in a hospital, dying with no one seeking me, I'll make sure I live that day and make the best I can because that is my day on earth. And that is how everyone should be. And they should have the choice on how to live it too. Live it. I don't know how you could take away your life when it wasn't yours in the first place.
Hoffler says those final months and days should never be cut short, as he learned from experience with his own wife.
We were married for 40 years. And in the last 5 years, I think we had the best years of our life when she actually had a terminal diagnosis. And I wouldn't trade those 5 years for anything.
As for Pam, she's now volunteering for Compassion and Choices, guiding other families through a process she now knows firsthand.
Nobody wants to talk about dying and death. But once we get into that, it really becomes an act of love. It really does.
Oh my gosh. It reminds me of that movie. Oh, I don't know. Did we watch it together? Oh, I'm trying to think. No, we haven't. It's a TV series. Oh, shoot. I'm trying to remember. Where it was about diseases. Oh. And then what happens is when someone would get sick, right? They would all tie them up and bind them and then burn the house while the whole neighborhood sits outside and sings Kumbaya and forgets about it. They're all having dinner and then the person had this pinky move. I don't remember. If anyone's seen that, let me know in the chat. And the pinky moved and they were like, holy crap, the person has, the disease. So they stop eating, they grab the woman, they tie her in the chair, and then they burn the whole house with the person in there screaming, and they're all singing so they don't hear the screams. It was the most horrendous thing I've ever seen. But that is how people will act. These people are insane. I saw the most insane. If you guys watch on the Mayfield High School website, the video of the school conference, you need to watch the first person who spoke and the one they put on TV, of course. That person is terrified of everything. Could be an actress or could be legitimately that scared. When people are scared, they will kill you for the greater good. This happens throughout history, as we'll see today, talking about all of these things. But to understand the history of smallpox, the vaccine in itself gives people confidence about vaccines, but also brings concern. You have to remember that vaccines, in order to be effective for anything, and we know this isn't a vaccine, we know the vaccine is the virus. This is where they edit you. This is where they snip you. And this is the way they create the population they need to usher what they want. But the history of how they create vaccines is a problem. Here, take a look at this clip. Take a listen for those listening.
The invention of the smallpox vaccine goes back to the late 18th century and English physician Edward Jenner. It's a story of both reassurance and concern today, says Sam Lemley, curator of special collections at Carnegie Mellon University, which has Jenner's 1798 treatise on the subject. Scientific discoveries can come from unexpected places, but resistance to new ideas can also block their adoption, Lemley says. Jenner heard that dairy maids and farm workers who got cowpox didn't get smallpox. He undertook a series of trials and discovered that injecting the pus from a cowpox sore can provide immunity to smallpox.
I think that his discoveries were met with a lot of skepticism at first. So the book was actually self-published. When Jenner submitted his discoveries to the Royal Society, they rejected it for publication in their journal.
After publication, the religious establishment was hesitant to accept vaccination as a treatment because it seemed so unnatural. Charlatans would claim to be able to do it and end up infecting people, so people didn't trust it at first.
The thought that I have in reading about Jenner is that it's a source of reassurance in some ways, in part because vaccines, the original vaccine came from such an unexpected place and source, cows. I think that that's true of so many medical advancements. The concern, of course, is the public reaction to the successful introduction of a COVID-19 vaccine. Will everyone sort of sign up, and will everyone agree to take the vaccine to protect the community and those that that are immunocompromised and can't be vaccinated?
So they already knew 6 months ago, and they knew last year, that the majority of the U.S. populations are anti-vaxxers. What has changed? Coercion. What else has changed? What else has changed? Blackmail. I'm going to show you a video from 1969. For those listening, you'll hear it. It's quite interesting.
My name is Dr. John Neff, Assistant Professor of Pediatrics at Johns Hopkins. It is my feeling that it is no longer necessary to perform routine preschool or infant smallpox vaccination.
I'm Samuel Katz, Professor and Chairman of the Department of Pediatrics at Duke University. I believe that our nation's freedom from smallpox rests upon the widespread use of smallpox vaccine.
I'm Dr. Paul Worley. It's my job today to try to resolve these two opposed points of view.
Welcome to the exploration of concepts and controversies in modern medicine, one of a series of programs dedicated to examining the uncertain, candidly recognizing that much of today's teaching is necessarily based upon opinion, and that the opinions of eminent physicians in a given field vary widely. The National Medical Audiovisual Center believes that openly airing such opposing views is a basic responsibility of medical communications. Dr. Paul Worley, Hastings Professor of Pediatrics at the University of Southern California School of Medicine, will act as moderator for this presentation.
For many years, the physicians of this country and the workers in public health have been emphasizing the need for vaccination for children, and particularly infants and preschool children, to provide a basic immunity against smallpox. We also have been urging immunization at intervals for particular types of health workers, for transportation workers, and at intervals we have also urged re-immunization of all citizens of this country, whether they plan international travel or not. The immunization against smallpox is the earliest and one of the most effective prophylaxis agents against any of the communicable diseases. However, during recent years, the ball game seems to be changed. The rules are somewhat different, and perhaps there are differences with respect to some of the threats. I would first like to, before getting our combatants into the fray, I'd like to first turn to see what's happening with regard to the international picture and see what's happening to smallpox on the worldwide scale, because I think this is important to us as we develop our story today. As you will see, in 1945, smallpox was present throughout virtually all of South America. 1945, you'll note, is the lighter shaded together with the darker shaded areas, spread throughout all of South America, throughout all of Africa, through the Middle East, through Southeast Asia, and down, including Malaya and many of the countries in the South Pacific. During the next period of time, from 1955 through 1965, we see additional changes taking place. Here, the earlier period is in lighter color, the subsequent period in darker color, and here you see that these areas originally involved very solidly have become substantially smaller. And I think it's important to note that the areas involved here, although they are solidly colored, may have some differences with respect to specific areas within those countries where smallpox remains a problem. Also, another area that I hope we can point up today is data concerning the risk of vaccination and data concerning the possibility of other means of the prevention of smallpox should it be introduced into this country. I think at this time I would like to turn to our first combatant this morning, Dr. Neff, and see how he would like to develop his particular position.
Well, I think there can be no question now that smallpox vaccination has been the one agent which has been responsible for eradicating smallpox from large areas of the world. But I think that there can be no question also that by present day standards, smallpox vaccine, or as a vaccine, is a very poor vaccine. And I think for two reasons it's a poor vaccine. For one reason, the duration of immunity that is afforded by your smallpox vaccination is relatively short in duration, and probably absolute immunity to smallpox from the vaccine is no longer than 3 years. Number two, there are a significant number of complications that are associated with this particular vaccine and a significant amount of mortality. Now, for a long time in this country, we've practiced routine preschool and infant vaccination, so that within this country, about 90% of the people have been vaccinated at least one time in their life. And it's also true, since 1949, there have been no cases of smallpox imported into the United States. But for this, we've paid a real price. Based on surveys that we've done in 1968, 1963, and review of the death certificates, there can be no question that there are at least 7 deaths a year as a result of our smallpox vaccination policy. And the other question that this brings up, is this really been the reason that we have been free of smallpox? If you look carefully in terms of the immunity of the nation, you'll find that 80% of the population has not been vaccinated within 3 years, and therefore are not absolutely protected against smallpox, and 50% have not been vaccinated for greater than 15 years and probably have little or no protection at all to smallpox. Whereas the epidemiology of smallpox is such that this can be prevented from entering into our country, and I think has been, not because our population has been well vaccinated, but because our travelers are well vaccinated. And that I think that the other thing is that it is a very focal disease, and that the secondary cases can be predicted. And they're not going to sweep through the nation as other diseases, perhaps measles or whatnot. But the secondary cases are very focal and occur in hospital personnel and family contact. And I think that all we have to do in this country is, number one, immunize our travelers, and that will keep smallpox out. And number two, identify those risks, those population at high risk, and those are your hospital personnel and your family contacts. And it is not necessary to perform routine smallpox vaccination.
Thank you, Dr. Neff. I think you've summed up the arguments very nicely here, and I think at this point we should turn to Dr. Sam Katz and see what he has to say concerning the need to continue our present position.
I think that it's important to recall that a little over 30 years ago, there were at least 15,000 cases of smallpox in the United States, and that, as Dr. Neff has pointed out, we have had none, basically, over the last 20 years. This is an admirable record, and it's one which I think we all wish to persist and defend. The question which is basic to this is weighing a known dimension against a conjecture. We agree, I think, Dr. Worley, Dr. Neff, and I, that much of this admirable record stems from the widespread use of vaccine. We cannot provide any data on what would happen if we abandoned this widespread immunization program. We can look at the experience in other countries. In 1948, Great Britain abandoned the legal compulsion to smallpox vaccination. Over subsequent years, they've had hundreds of cases of smallpox, which have resulted from importations. And in this regard, I would disagree with Dr. Neff that the vaccination of our travelers will protect us against importations, because in most cases, it has not been natives returning to their nation who have brought the initial case. It has been a native of a country in which the disease remains endemic, as shown on Dr. Worley's chart. In this regard, then, I think we cannot close the door and rely solely upon the immunization of our travelers. I think we have to accept the fact that we can't control a great deal of the population, and that in the jet age, it's very simple for a person to be incubating smallpox, come from Asia, Africa, or Brazil to the United States with no overt disease, and introduce the disease within a very short period of time. The other feature is, I think our physicians are unable to recognize the disease anymore because we're free of it. So this reliance on quick smothering of an outbreak is, I think, a bit optimistic under present circumstances.
I think that Dr. Katz has summed up very nicely many of the arguments for continuing our present policies, and I think we have several points that we ought to discuss in depth in order to bring out some of these divergent types of opinions. Now, the first question that I think we might bounce around a bit concerns the probability of introducing smallpox into the United States with our present surveillance systems, with our present levels of immunization and so on. And I think that the Communicable Disease Center in Atlanta, a number of other organizations such as World Health Organization and the governments and the health services of many other countries have studied this problem very carefully. John, you seem to minimize the risk of bringing smallpox in via either Americans abroad or nationals from other countries.
Yes, well, I think the important point here, and I would disagree with Dr. Katz, it's not the nationals of another country, but it's generally the nationals of the country to which smallpox is introduced. I think one of the reasons is that smallpox now in the present pattern of eradication is being driven back into relatively remote areas. And it is not the cities and it's not the travelers that have a tendency to come in contact with cases of smallpox. And I think that one can look at our own history for the past 20 years. Our protection has not prevented smallpox from spreading in the United States. Actually, we've never been challenged. We haven't had an importation into the United States.
How do you know you haven't been challenged?
Well, this is a good question. I think that we have a very good surveillance system at the CDC, at the National CDC, and any suspected case is looked at by a person who is capable of diagnosing smallpox and differentiating this from chickenpox.
I kind of agree with that now, John. I think you can be honest about this, and without denigrating the medical profession, we've not had the experience in this country looking at smallpox. Even the best physicians acquainted with tropical medicine would be perfectly frank to say that a bad case of chickenpox is impossible to differentiate from a mild or a more severe case of smallpox. I think we can all recall a few years ago when this was exactly what happened, when a lady from Ghana was thought to have smallpox and actually had varicella. Secondly, that emphasized the fact that our laboratory facilities, though they may in rare instances be attuned to this, are not constantly challenged with making the diagnosis of smallpox, so that there can be confusion even with the laboratory support that's required for the diagnosis in a country where smallpox is not occurring. So that I have no peace of mind about our ability to diagnose smallpox either clinically or laboratory-wise at the drop of a hat in New York, San Francisco, Seattle, Boston, any port where the disease might enter tomorrow.
Well, this is certainly an area where I think we're going to remain far apart. I wonder if there are two or three things that we could agree with here now. Certainly, we haven't had any widespread occurrence of smallpox in this country for many years. We're agreed on this point.
We agree.
Now, it is possible that a case or two cases or an occasional case, 1 or 2, 3 a year, something like this, may come into the country, may occur without spread, could conceivably misdiagnose.
I would say this again is only conjecture, but to me, if I wanted to use such conjecture, I would use it to reinforce the concept that if this is happening periodically, our level of immunization has been sufficient to dampen the spread of disease. I don't like John's use of the word a poor vaccine. There are problems with smallpox vaccine. I think there's good work going on to improve the vaccine. But this business of 3 years and prevention of disease is one thing. Prevention of death is the other. You're emphasizing death as your big fear with smallpox vaccine. I think you must emphasize death as your fear with the disease.
20 years ago, the greatest gymnasts in the world gathered to compete for the ultimate prize, an Olympic gold medal. But in the midst of the competition, the gymnasts started falling and falling and falling, and no one understood what was happening until one gymnast discovered why.
I think we were just all in shock.
No part of that was normal.
I didn't even know that it could happen.
This is Blind Landing, the story of one of the biggest mistakes in Olympic history. Listen to Blind Landing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
So there's the key. So what they're trying to say now, you're worried about what the vaccine will do to you and if you'll die, but wouldn't it be worse if you die from COVID? No, because it's a 99% survival rate. Have you seen their numbers? Have you guys actually seen their numbers? Well, there was a study. You know what? We'll take a break and then I'll play that. How's that? We'll take a break and then I'll show you that so we can delve into the history of weaponized diseases. So today's Friday, and Tom McDonald released a video, and we're going to watch it because I love it. I should actually have him on, but like on the weekend when it's like not a news thing, when it's not about news and it's just like shooting the shit. Here we go.
I love the earth, but I don't really want to save it. Everything is sexist, homophobic, or it's racist. When life gives us lemons, we're supposed to want to change it. But my generation rather take some pills than escape it. Say that I'm transphobic if you wanna, but one day I'll be a father. And I really hope my son don't grow up to be my daughter. I ain't trying to hurt your feelings, skin should be a little thicker. That's the problem, being honest got them triggered. The kids are getting weaker cause they're sheltered by society. Pumpkin spice Ativan for seasonal anxiety. Wokeness has become a way to bully non-violently and cancel everyone without improving on the life we live. Without the white, there's no black. Without the straight, there's no gay. Without the men, there's no women. Without the night, there's no day. Without the idiots, we couldn't laugh at them when they fall. So maybe we need them after all. Ain't nobody dumber than y'all. Ain't nobody dumber than y'all. I guess you love to be wrong, or you don't have the guts of the balls. Dum 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 diddy dum 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 diddy dum. I love the earth, but I don't really want to save it. Everyone's obsessed with making stupid people famous. If a white boy raps, then it's called appropriation. But Beyonce has a hair blonde, and people say she slayed it. Everybody's outraged, everybody's mad. Our solutions to the issues don't make no sense. If stairs are the problem, we build wheelchair ramps. We don't cancel feet or persecute the people with legs. The feminists who started the movement would be ashamed of so many things. They fought so you could vote. I show your butthole on OnlyFans. I'm not a bad person because you don't like what I say. Call me homophobic just because I think straight. I love people even though we disagree. I wish we could get Wi-Fi signals from a tree. Then everyone would plant them and we'd probably save the planet for free. Too bad we only need them to breathe. That's true. Ain't nobody dumber than y'all. Ain't nobody dumber than y'all. Hey, I guess you love to be wrong, or you don't have the guts of the balls. Hey, dum 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 diddy dum 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 dum.
I love the earth, but I don't really want to save it. Classifying people by their sex and race degrades them, but we still stay straight white males are the worst of our population. Guess the labels are okay if they're Caucasian. My kids are living in their rooms, I swear we barely ever see them. Go outside sometime, there's fresh air you could be breathing. Put your phones down, play sports, do something illegal. Go and meet your families, they're probably nice people. These days you're a Nazi if you don't hate the police. They say that white folks think all Asian people are Chinese. I'm sorry, what kind of white people you mean? English, Scottish, German, Swedish, or Greek? And Black Lives Matter was problematic. It excludes anyone without the pigment. It's automatic. I understand all the reasons it happened, but including all humans is the actual answer.
Oh, no. Ain't nobody dumber than y'all. Ain't nobody dumber than y'all. Hey, yo! I guess you love to be wrong. You don't have to touch the ball. Hey, yo! Dum 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 diddy dum 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 diddy dum dum.
Okay, that was kind of fire. You guys have to admit, like, that was fire. And I really like the part where he said, why don't you, like, put your phone down, go outside, or just go do something illegal. And I remember that I was a few months ago. I think I was actually at Millie's house. And Phoebe was kind of like around there. And I was like, oh my gosh, just leave your phone, go out and just go do something. Go commit a crime or something. As kids, we used to do shit, like go do something. And she kind of looks at me. And when I heard that lyric, I remember Amelia gave me the look and Gavin was like, yeah, man, we got up to some really messed up shit when we were kids, which is true. We used to do things like, how many of us went exploring? Okay, I didn't do any of that stuff in New York. I'm dead serious. I had most of my childhood stuff where I went exploring and did stuff in Greece because I lived in Manhattan. Where am I going to explore in the fashion district? Okay. Where am I going to go to? The Ringling Brothers Circus? How many times? Grateful Dead concert? Am I going to go explore? My exploring actually was the Macy's toy floor. I think it was the 5th floor was where all the toys were. Or going down to FAO, hanging out. And, you know, there's only so many times you can go through the Bronx Zoo without, you know, getting bored. But I did enjoy my childhood in the summers when my parents would be like, oh, shit, school's out. Next day, they'd put me on a plane and send me off to my grandparents. That was the most fun I had. We would, like, hide in trees with my cousins and shoot each other with these little balls that are supposed to be fruit, but they were really hard because they didn't turn into fruit yet. We'd go climb a mountain. There was one time where I climbed the side of the mountain and then everyone was going down. I didn't want to get down. I was like, yeah, I'll just stay here in the middle forever. You know, this is the type of stuff kids used to do. They used to get in trouble. They used to push the limits. And that's the thing. Today, when I watched that video of that kid being dragged out from the university, it was a university, of course, because if that was a high school, I would have been even more pissed. But when I saw all the kids just watching this kid be dragged out for not wearing a mask, right, by the police, and they can't say he's trespassing because he's paying to be there, right, by the police. Nobody stood up for him. They all sat there. And I'm like, damn, are they like all spineless? They're adults. They're in college. And they sat there. Some of them were laughing too. We taught our kids, or we were taught as kids, that the sky's the limit. You could be whatever you want. Now they tell kids, well, you know, because you're this color, you're going to have to try harder. And because you're this color, you better stop trying hard, okay? You're not allowed to. You're already at a privilege. So while everyone else starts at, you know, a base grade, you started at an F and you need to work it up because you're white. It's no joke. They do stuff like that. And so not only that, they tell children that they can't do anything, that they need to obey, and that they shouldn't question things. The only way we solve problems is by asking questions. The only way we have innovation is by having debate and pushing boundaries. The only way we get something new and magnificent is because someone thought outside the box. But what they are doing now is putting kids in a box. They're all obedient. I'll tell you what, when my daughter was in school during the spring, she was wearing this mask. And every time I would take her to school, she would have the mask on, pick her up from school. She'd wear the mask without even realizing she's wearing it. She's like, oh, it's habit. And I was like, no, stop making it a habit. Just stop. It's not helping you, and you're just playing along with the rules. She was like, well, I'm new, and I don't know anyone. We don't even see each other's faces, and we're all far apart. This is why this year she was like, damn, I'm not playing this game anymore. I want to make friends. I want to be social, and I want someone to tell me that I have to do something. On the other hand, let me just say, the parents that have children in that school, there was a parent that was going to be arrested. Hold on, let me get that video for us, because you should watch it. It was actually an interview done by Fox affiliate Chris Berg. Let me find it. He got trashed on Facebook by the maskers. They even asked questions like, were the kids vaccinated? And it's like, it's none of your business. Why are you asking? I'm so glad that I saw some people stand up for that child's dignity and not saying things like that. But it was really sad to watch the way people responded. I was just like, that's so disgusting. Like, ew. I couldn't believe that there's people like that. Well, that really think like that. You hear about it and you're like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are. I have them on my own Facebook, but are you kidding? I don't want to have to log in to watch a video. Are you freaking kidding me? In order to watch something on Facebook, now I have to log in? That's so bad. Ugh. Can't stand freaking the agency. Fuckers. Excuse my French. Let me log in, because I have it on a different device. I don't log into the devices. All right. Yes, I did. Let me in. Okay, it said login approved. So can we do this now? All right, here we go. Let's go. Let me allow you guys this this enragement, because there were people laughing too at these parents. I was just kind of like, I don't believe that I'm watching this. These are adults that supposedly, again, China red, because next week we'll talk about it, but North Dakota is really going into it hard, because they're getting the social credit score system going. Basically, you're going to be using a smart card, which is like your debit card, to vote. That's exactly what they're doing in Europe. Here we go. Take a listen to this.
Talked about a story where a family, and their parents are joining us here tonight, which I'll introduce them in a moment, but they wanted to bring their son to school and have him not wear a mask. And the dad, Nick Meadows, ended up getting a phone call from essentially the Fargo Police Department, but the head of the SRO, School Resource Officer. So his wife, Lana, and Nick Meadows join us in studio tonight to share more about their story. So to both of you, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I wanted to have you on just because there are so many parents right now that have been reaching out to me that are so frustrated with this situation. And so what I really want to do tonight, because I think a lot of people relate to your stories, just give you a chance to share what's been happening. And Lana, I wanted to start with you, because I think it was yesterday you brought your son to school, and my understanding is he was basically segregated within the principal's office. And please share.
Yeah, thankfully we didn't get that far, but we were walking into school, just me and my son, 7th grader, little guy. If you know him, he's small. So we were just walking in, and then the principal stopped, and we didn't have our masks on, because I figured, he doesn't need one, really. I don't feel like he does. It's his choice, and I'm supporting him in it. So the principal said, "Do you have a mask?" And I said, "No, thank you." And we were just going to keep on walking. And then she's like, "Okay, do you have a medical exemption?" And I'm like, "No, we don't," because I didn't really feel like I needed to go to a doctor for my son to not have a mask on. And then I didn't say all that, but that was my thinking. And so I told my son to go on in, and he went in, and then we went and chatted in her office that he needs to have a mask, or he either hangs out in her office all day alone, or I just take him home. And this went on for a couple of minutes, but mainly just me sitting there thinking, you know, if you know my son, he's small, he follows direction, doesn't break the law, he respects authority, but in this instance, I'm like, there's no law that you have to do this.
So I agree with her. You know, she's trying, but then there's that Karen. You see, there's this person named Stacy here. Her comment is, "You keep saying how your kid follows the rules, but he's not following the rule. It's not difficult. I bet if you two parents were making this an issue, he would wear a mask." Karens. You mean the cheap paper mask made in China? The ones that say right on the box does not protect against the virus? And here she is talking about things. And then again, so if the rule was to wear a yellow Star of David on your person because someone told you so, would you do that too? I love it when people actually respond to these Karens and put them in their place. But you know, they don't respond. They drop comments like that and then they just run away, right? This is what they do. They want to trigger you because they're going to be winners, right? These are the people that are going to be winners. These people. The people that tell you that you should listen to rules that violate the Constitution.
You know, it's your body. Nobody is going to tell you you have to do this. Like, it's your choice. So we were 100% for this and supporting him. And the principal reiterated that if we would offer him a mask, and then if he doesn't want a mask, then we will call the parents and then have you come and get him. And then if this keeps on happening, then he will either be suspended or distant learning would be an option too. And that was not an option, the distant learning, because he didn't want that.
So we'll get to that in a moment. I guess what's missing for me, you can fill in the blanks, is then how then did it go from this conversation to, again, essentially the Fargo Police Department, they had SROs getting your phone number and calling you?
So what happened was after the night that the morning that she came back, I got back from work and we had a conversation about what had happened. And I got kind of angry. I decided that I was going to do it the next morning and I was going to take my son in. And, I thought I knew everything about being able to walk on public ground and stuff. But so we put up in a Facebook group around, we put up an ad to see if any other parents wanted to do it with us, or maybe somebody would join me to help, a little bit harder to intimidate a group of people than one. Somebody got a hold of the information and apparently called the SROs at the school.
So a Karen saw his post asking for Americans to unite. And that Karen called the police officer, that's a resource officer of the school, to tell on him that he's going to come to the school with no mask. Who is that person? You see the evil? That's evil. That's evil. That is evil.
So first, the SRO for Discovery Middle School called me, and he was very polite and everything. He just wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to cause a scene and that I would sign in to the office. And then he didn't have anything to say about me not being able to do it or anything. But then about 10 minutes later, his sergeant, the SRO coordinator, she called me, and the conversation was quite a bit different. She, without saying it outright, she basically told me that when I get there tomorrow, if I'm refused on the property for any reason, that I would be arrested for criminal trespass. And so there was that. And then
So here's where the problem is. You can't trespass on property that you pay for. His taxes pay for that shit. I'd like to see how she can say it's criminal trespass when he has every right to be there. Now, let's go to another Karen comment. This is from a lady named Catherine Netzer. These are the people that will be turning on the ovens. These are the Nazi people that turn on the ovens to kill you or shoot you for not paying attention. Do these parents insist their son wear a helmet when riding his bike? How about a seatbelt, a warm coat in the winter, protective pads when playing football? Have they had the conversation with him that even though a mask might be uncomfortable, he's doing his part to keep the classroom safe? Remember, the greater good. This is how slaves talk. Kids are given mask breaks, and I've heard no complaints from my grade school grandchildren. They aren't overly excited about wearing masks, but their parents have emphasized that wearing a mask is a way that you can fight the virus! Exclamation point. How did these parents feel about the vaccine? If we had all done our part earlier, the mask thing wouldn't be an issue this fall. So someone said, all the objects you mentioned above actually do provide protection. Masks don't. And here is the Karen responding. Even if that were true, what harm do they do? Why do you think doctors and nurses wear them in surgery? So they don't spit, inhale, cough, or sneeze while they have their hands in your open body that is ready for infection. Yes, to protect the patient. That's why they wear a mask. It's actually for the sneezing and the coughing and the spitting when they talk. So another one, why is it so hard to care about other people and not to be responsible for the ongoing mutations of this virus caused by the unvaccinated? Woo! Bobby Boyer needs to see the document I'm going to show you after this clip. The CDC knew from July that it's the vaccinated people that are causing, what is it called? Breakthrough coronavirus, meaning they're creating the virus, right? That's what Bobby needs to know.
we do end up going the next morning. I did some research when we were gone. She actually lied to me, but.
Can I just interrupt you for a moment?
Yep.
So is there any, because you said this gentleman called you, the school SRO, and hey, want to make sure you're not going to, is there any history of you getting out of control or doing anything?
No, I have no record of doing anything.
I only ask that because it just seems odd to me that an SRO is going to say, hey, you're not going to get out of control about a mask. Or that's what I'm trying to get at tonight is the emotions around these things. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to get to the rest of your story in a moment, but I think a lot of people at home, I know what they're saying right now is, it's a policy. Just put the mask on. Mm-hmm. What do you say to that?
I say no, because for so many reasons. I don't even know where to start with this. I don't feel like it's your body. How can somebody tell you what to do on it? And I understand the whole point of disease and people getting sick. And I know all that medical stuff. I know I'm not a doctor, but I know how it works. But I think it causes more problems than anything, especially in the school age kids. How much time is going to be spent adjusting? How much time is going to be spent by the teachers? Don't touch your mask. Don't do this. I mean, then if kids have to read out loud and they're quiet readers like my son, teacher's going to be like, what? I can't hear you. You have to speak up. And that is going to make him self-conscious. And then he wears glasses and it gets foggy. It's just one thing after another. And it can all be prevented.
Let alone the big thing I hear, I do want you to get the chance to finish your story about what happened today, but just the mental health challenges I'm hearing from kids and parents about having to wear these masks all day.
Yeah, or what about the little kids that have boogers and saliva and don't wipe their mouth? It's worse than a diaper. Remember, I've told you, your mouth is filthier than your butthole, right? Now, listen to what J.J. Buckley said. My kids have oh my gosh, stop pinging me, people. My kids have actual health issues, and you can distance learn and go to another school. Be considerate of other children. It's not just about you. He can go to therapy if he's having mental health issues from a mask. My daughter has social anxiety, but she goes on the bus and to school wearing her mask all day. She's a very strong-willed little girl, but feels it's better to be safe than sorry. Think about it for the sake of the world. Now, how many children, listen, this mom says that her children have actual health issues, then she should keep them at home. Because out of 200 kids, 2 have severe health issues. And if you're terrified about COVID, you keep them home, right? We're not going to sacrifice everyone for the 2 little children that, the mom decides that they're going to get hurt. It sounds like the other lady. And it's like, if you're that scared, stay the fuck home. Why are you killing it for everyone else? That's the way it is. And these people are trying to convince to feel sorry for them. I give 0 sorry fucks for you. Period. If you think that your kid is going to get ill, why would you even risk it? If my kid has a health issue, there's no way I'm going to put her somewhere, even without COVID. Flus, when we all get sick? August, September, when the kids go back to school. We get all the cooties. There's hand and foot going around. It's a complete shit show. And back in the days, it used to be lice. If you guys remember, I remember that they would check kids' heads because one of them would bring them. So, if you think your kid is sick, keep it home. If you're that scared, keep it home. Why are you going to ruin it for everyone else? And everyone should wear masks and have a gross ass diaper in their face with boogers and food. These are kids because you want it to. Stay home. If you're that scared, stay home. And you know what sucks? I see people. There was a woman that reprimanded me weeks ago at a place right by my post office. She was like the door person there. Put your mask on. And I'm like, whatever. I just rolled my eyes and walked into the post office. Well, I saw her the other day when I went back to the post office. And there she is, with her mask on, but it's below her nose. If you were terrified, that shit would be taped to your face. If you really believed that the mask worked, you'd have duct tape, you'd have inner tape, you'd be double masking it like the crazy woman that first spoke. And crazy meaning she's crazy scared, right? Not mentally, I would say that she's terrified of walking outside. She had her mask, 2 of them, maybe 3, wrapped up so tight they weren't even moving while she spoke, right? So if they are really terrified, their masks will be on properly all the time and they won't be dirty or flimsy. They'll wear 3 or 4. Then there's the people that are just complying because, I'm a good citizen. Look at me. I'm just doing my part. So they're just wearing it and it falls off their nose and shit. I mean, even at the school board, the one guy was half asleep. You guys got to watch the video, this old guy, and his mask was falling off as he was passing out. So it's like mask, mask, mask. Wear your mask. Don't want to see your stupid face, slave. But listen, there's more. The police actually got back to the show and said, the police department does not enforce mask policies in the Fargo public school, nor does it take a position on whether or not the policy should be in place. The purpose of the school resource officer in the school is to ensure that the students and staff have a safe learning environment free of any disturbances. Okay, I've emailed this chick a few times when she had that Somali guy that was 21 in high school that raped the 13 and 14-year-old and asked her why a 21-year-old was even in the presence and how that happened. I have a couple of emails with her when I was on the Ilhan Omar Somali thing. So anyway, so the police aren't going to enforce it. So the schools can't do shit. Really, they can't. And it's not criminal trespass because he pays taxes. That's his school.
Is your son having similar things go on from a mental health standpoint, or?
Yes, he's expressed the fact that when he is forced to wear a mask, that he feels like it makes it harder to breathe. I mean, it might not
'Cause it does.
actually do that, but it doesn't matter. From his viewpoint, it makes it harder to breathe, and it scares him. It actually scares him when he has to breathe through them for too long.
Yeah, I mean, it's all day they have to have them. So let's finish your story. So now you went, you said, did some homework about being able to be on public property. You showed up today with your son, no mask.
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through what happened today.
So when I showed up today, we went in and confronted the principal, and both of the RSO officers that had called me showed up. So we went into the principal's office to have a conversation.
So let me just say, I feel really bad. This guy, Nick, goes in there and none of the other people in the community went with him. Damn. Talk about community ethics.
I did confront the sergeant that's in charge about the fact that I feel like she lied to me through omission, because they can't actually arrest you or remove you from public property without someone willing to press charges. And she left that out of the other phone call. So I thought that was an intimidation tactic. But so I got to talking with the principal. I went through a few things that I learned in my research and stuff. And basically, I got through all that. They didn't really care that they were breaking laws. Their policy was their law. It was, and then once I was done with that, I read her a heartfelt 3-page letter that I had carefully thought out and everything. I feel like she didn't care. She didn't bat an eye. I think at one point in the conversation, she actually rolled her eyes at me. And then we got past that part. And the last disturbing part that happened was I turned to the officer, the sergeant in charge again, and I asked her, so what would happen to my son if he chose to stay here without a mask? I was like, are you going to arrest him? She said, no, she's not going to arrest a juvenile. But what would happen is that if he goes into the school without a mask, he'd be asked to put a mask on. If he doesn't, he'd be asked to come to the principal's office and stay all day. If he doesn't want to do that, then they would call a parent in order to come pick him up. And if I chose to support him and let him stay at school without a mask during the day, that she would call social services on me. So we had a back and forth with that a couple of times, where I basically told her that I feel like she's trying.
Whoa, did you guys hear that? The bitch threatened social services. Holy shit. What? Did you see that? They threatened him to take his kid away. Are you listening? For all those out there, they don't do that in America. Where the fuck are all these people in North Dakota with their guns out and going hunting? You should stick that gun up your butt, because you're going to be giving that shit away. You're letting them do this to your kids? None of them can read. None of them can read actual research. There are CDC studies that say children shouldn't be in masks. They're not even at risk. Yet, now that there's vaccines, there's breakthrough, which are humanly created viruses, and they can get sick. But their survival rate is 99.99902. Like, shut up. The flu's deadlier than that. Are you listening to this? This is important. This is very, very important. Very important.
To tell me that if I don't obey, that she's going to call social services and try to have my son taken from me.
Just, I spoke with Sergeant Jacobson earlier today. She goes, Chris, I think there was a misunderstanding. I wasn't suggesting that I was going to call social services on him. She said that's protocol if a parent doesn't pick up a child. I don't want to get into semantics, but just so you know, that was her kind of response to that.
Right. She had to walk that shit back.
So I got a minute left from both of you. Where do you go from here? Are you going to just pull your kid out of school? What's next for you guys? We'll start with you.
We are heavily considering homeschooling, which is doable with us. That's not going to be an issue.
No homeschooling. Where the hell is the fucking community to get together and say, we're in a room with every single one of them? All our kids aren't going with masks. If your kids are sick, keep them the fuck home. If you're scared of it, stay home and sanitize the shit out of everything. Don't bring that stuff where we're paying taxes. You're taking our tax dollars for that school. Every single one of them should have been dragged out by every single parent. But the thing is, everyone is a freaking vagina. No one stands up for the others. No one does. And this is why we differ. Anything that happens to one of us happens to all of us. There's one person that we all know and love, and I'm not going to shine any light, that lost their job for not wearing a mask. They were fired for not wearing a mask. Guess what? We're all going to be right behind them. When they have their unemployment hearing call, right, when they file for unemployment and they're denied, right, I'll be on that phone call. And on that phone call, we'll have him the best damn lawyer, because all of us can chip in $20. Each and every one of us should be holding each other up, because every battle they win is a battle won for us to take them all down. That's how it works. Where we go one, we go all means I'm not here just to, oh yeah, Q's going to save the day. No, Q is giving you information to know just how messed up shit is. Q is also warning you about patriots and people who are just sitting there making a profit rather than actually doing shit. Q said you need to unite. You need to have one voice. These are the things that were said. Where we go one, we go all doesn't mean follow Mel Q and look at her red digital stream where she finds a post from like a year ago and then connects the, like, what the fuck is that? You look insane. You look insane. Whatever operations are having in the background. And I can assure you that all of them have zero knowledge, right? You don't need to know. But what we need to do as a people is take every single one of them down. And the way we do it is one battle at a time. And guess what? We can lose battles, but we're not losing this war. We've got a lawyer that we're going to be doing a campaign for, not money, writing letters. Because guess what, guys? Our next job is removing a freaking judge. Yup. Because when a judge takes a position that's not good, well, the people can remove it. And when there's evidence of that in court filings, and then they file something that's fucked up and against the law and says, whoa, that's illegal what you said, judge. If you do that, it shows your intention, and then they pull it out. Now, when you know that the other person on the other side of the lawsuit is the attorney general and a governor, and you correct yourself, that means the attorney general or the governor gave you a heads up. And guess what that means? We're going to find that shit out, and we're going to hang you out to dry. So then the next judge that thinks he's going to do shit like that, we're going to have him hung out to dry. This is how you win as a community, working as one, not leaving these poor people by themselves. Jesus. And then people get upset when I say North Dakota is filled with really woke people. Woke is shit.
And I'm really sad about it because I really wanted him to go to school and he wanted to be with friends, and I just can't imagine any kid being quarantined in a student office where other kids go when they are naughty. But my son, who is, he follows the rules and he obeys the law and does what others tell him to do, but he stands up for himself and says no, and he's gonna have to be alone in a room all day.
There's a lot of parents that feel the way you do. I had a lot of conversations today. I'm sorry that you're having to deal with this.
Thank you.
You want to say anything, Dad?
No, I think she said it better.
I mean, folks, what are we doing? Breaks my heart to see this. This young man wants to go to school, wants to be with his peers, and we're telling him no. When I said last night, there is still not conclusive evidence that masks are going to mitigate the situation in K through 12 schools. If you've got conclusive evidence that these masks are going to make that big of an impact, then please share it with me. But I have yet to see it. Have you guys?
No.
What can we do to help?
At this point, we're just basically trying to figure out what to do for schooling with our son. And then at some point in the future, we will be seeking legal action against Fargo Public Schools. So anybody that could give us any information or help in that nature would be amazing.
All right. Keep in touch, will you, please?
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. In our prayers.
No need to say, obviously, the Tori Says team is contacting them with things that they can do. Hold on. Let me find another one. Now you guys get to see my friends list that I have hidden. Hold on. I wanted to show you something that Facebook did. And I want to show you the comments because you need to see the vitriol that they spew. Do you know who this woman is? Did I play this video? I don't think I played it because I was looking for it. We'll play it. This is a woman who's actually an environmental toxicologist. Look at the comments. I just want you to see the comments. Hold on. Here we go. All comments. The fact checkers are busy trying to nullify anything that goes against the propaganda they keep slinging under their thumb. I just want to see these fact checkers take on stupid fact checkers off. Haha, epic fail for video. Haha, epic fail for intelligent comment. Chris Berg posts fraudulent info. QAnon crazy. These are what they're doing. Now let's watch this together. Hold on.
Guilty of cross-contamination by placing their masks on the surface. Thank you.
Remember, fact checkers came out when the truth started coming out, right?
I'm not afraid of COVID. I'm more afraid of the biologics. All right, so my name is Kristen Megan Kelly. I reside in Hudsonville. I'm here today representing a lot of my neighbors and friends who have children at this school. I can confidently say I am the only subject matter expert in this room. You've heard from a pediatrician, you've heard from healthcare workers. I am the only subject matter expert in this room to speak on masks. I applaud the parents who've done their due diligence. I'm going to tell you a little bit of my background. I have spent the past 19 years working in the field of occupational and environmental toxicology as a senior industrial hygienist. I am cross-credentialed in public health, decontamination site management. I've had an infection control and prevention committees, infectious disease committees in hospitals. In fact, hospitals cannot be built, like if you have new construction, because I spent most of my career in healthcare. They cannot build a building without consulting with an industrial hygienist. Why? I'm going to explain that. So you have to understand my frustrations. I'm glad I went last because then I can address some of the fear that I'm hearing and the misinformation. I'm going to give you some credit for the fact that you haven't heard of my profession, most likely, because the media has the MDs and the DOs and the nurses on TV. They are skilled. They treat people. I protect people. And I train those doctors that are on TV, and they are not telling you the truth. The doctors that are telling you the truth, by the way, are here in town. The frontline doctors, neurologists, pediatricians, the ones I work with around the country, are here this weekend at an event. And we are trying to let all the superintendents know, all the staff know. I understand you've been led wrong. This is not political for me. I'm a military veteran. I spent 9 years in the Air Force working in bioenvironmental engineering. Those burn pits you heard of, we air sampled them. 9/11, we air sampled them. Tell me why now, during every previous pandemic, my profession has been involved with air sampling and doing risk mitigation, selecting the controls. Why were we ignored during COVID? That's right, because this is not about the health and safety. That's not my opinion, that is fact. Because the fact is, every single mask that someone has on this room has 0% efficacy. The reason I know that is because I am a court-credentialed expert. I have been on countless court cases over the past year, and I've won every single one in favor of doctors I've defended, military people, you name it. Teachers suing their employers. I've protected them, and we've won every case because the science is on my side. So
guess who's hiring her to come as her court expert who's suing the Mayfield School District? That's what's up.
Please write this down, everybody.